What is up, everybody? Liam Murphy here. Going to be reviewing the Week 16 slate, taking a look at some of my final teams, or should I say team? Taking a look, more importantly, at the Discord's finals teams, and who knows what else we'll get into. If you're new to the channel, my name is Liam Murphy. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give me a like on the video. We're only 90 away from reaching the 3,500 subscriber goal. Would love to get to that soon. Please do your part. What's up, fellow Liam? Good afternoon to you. So week 16 is in the books. Of course, 2 years ago, I had two finals teams. One in BBM2, 160-person final. One in the OG Puppy 1. And maybe some other big board or something that I'm not remembering. We could look up the results. But ran hot, took down BBM2 for a cool $1,001, the biggest best ball prize at the time. And also got like 5th in the Puppy. Flash forward a year, no BBM3 finals for us, but we did get a team into the 555 final. We did get a team into the 2120 final on DraftKings, and we ran hot and won both of those tournaments for $300K. So, bringing us to the current year, we had a shot at the 555 final. Did not make it. Only one team, the Browns players, really knocked me out of having a lot more Week 16 sweats. Also, don't think I played it perfectly, but we'll get into the reviews later in the season. Had 3 shots at the BBM4 finals, which, even though it's a huge tournament, none of us are actually going to win it. You always want to sweat for that one. A shot at $3 million. Cannot think of something more exciting, honestly. We bricked our 3 bullets in the BBM4 semifinals, so no BBM4 finals for us this year. Is what it is. Is it a little disappointing? Yeah, it's a little disappointing. Is it the expected result? Yes, it is the expected result. A reminder, if you maxed BBM4 this year, you could expect to roughly have one finals team every 10 years. So yes, contest selection is a big part of this game of best ball, right? You should not play these mega field, as I'll call them, lotteries, just because of how big they are. If your goal is to return a profitable ROI year in and year out, because it's hard to do, right? Why do we do these tournaments? For the fun, the sweat, if you like to draft a lot. It's for moments like this. If you are one of the lucky 441 teams in the BBM4 finals. So we did get one team through to the finals. And honestly, we were inches away from 0. So count our lucky stripes. I also bricked, had 51 DraftKings teams make the quarterfinals, had 5 of those teams make the semifinals. My top team last week scored 191 points. Wasn't good enough. Did not make the DraftKings finals. I've never made the DraftKings Millie Maker finals, actually. The $10 to $20 to $5 one. They've changed it. 3 years ago, the DraftKings Millie Maker was $20. Last year, I believe it was $5, and this year it was $10. What will be next year? Almost certainly $15. But yeah, did not make that final, nor have I ever. Did not make the 555 final. As we take a look here, and guys, if you haven't yet, make sure you join my Discord. Link to join is below, and share your final sweats. I made these channels not only to look at them on stream, but I think it's also a good resource to look back on for next year for fellow users. Before I look at this team, I'm excited that I will be launching a site. I plan to try to write an article roughly once a week at least, so I have a bunch of content prepared. Gonna launch it at least by May. Maybe I'll get it done before then, depending on how much I have written, but we'll get to that later. So first things first, we'll take a look at my BBM4 sweats. I made a post on Twitter, which apparently not everyone understood. I was joking, where I said, absolutely brutal pod luck. Cannot believe I did not make the finals. I would have made it in most other pods. That was not the case, obviously. My team scored 122, good for 8th in a pot of 16. They scored 135, good for 7th. And they scored 126. The nice thing is they were all live at least until the completion of that 49ers game because they had 49ers pieces, but they were all very thin to make it. So bricked out in these three. Looking at these teams that advanced, this team, the Amari Cooper piece is really what killed me in a lot of these pods. I really quite like this team, and I think it was a strong made team. But more on that later. The team that made it, and honestly, I think there's going to be quite a bit of teams like this from what I'm seeing, is it's a 4 quarterback. I don't think we're going to see a lot of that, but 4 quarterback, which, I'm frankly never doing 4 when I go Dak and Goff as 2 of mine. Maybe they're the same buy or something. But more importantly, a 4 running back with 1 early, 1 at the 2nd round pick or 3rd round pick, 1 and then 2 bookend in like the mid rounds. And then, 8 wide receiver darts and double elite tight end, at least by draft costs a little bit. Laporta got expensive towards the end, depending on when this was drafted. But looking at this team, where would it want the extra bullet? Because obviously 4 quarterback, probably not something we should be doing a lot. I don't really think it's wide receiver. I kind of like the wide receiver room where he took 4 early-ish. And then the 4 late, 1 was attached to Josh Allen, 1 was attached to Justin Herbert, 1 was attached to Dak Prescott, and DPJ had like 1,000 yards last year and then nothing this year. Honestly, strong enough at wideout, strong enough at tight end, I think. So that leaves us either this team would like a 5th running back or an extra wide receiver or a 3rd tight end, in my opinion. So my 3rd team, this team just didn't stand a good chance. So it only had Goff with Richardson. You're going to see a lot of like Goff and Deshaun Watson teams in the finals because of Amari Cooper, of course. Speaking on Amari Cooper, before we take at my team here, it's kind of important for us as best ball players to try to objectively review our process. And every year there's going to be playoff hammers, right? And some of these playoff hammers, I personally think, are good process that cashed at the right time. Some examples from this past week, I would say, is a guy like Gabe Davis, right? That Gabe Davis is just a spike week guy. Attached to Josh Allen, we expect that offense to throw for touchdowns. We expect for him to have a low floor, high ceiling, right? He came in at the right time after doing nothing for a couple stretches of weeks. That's the Gabe Davis experience. I think it was good process to have a lot of Gabe Davis. Then you have a guy like Amari Cooper, who was a 3rd round pick. And to me, I thought Amari Cooper was kind of egregiously priced this year. He was closer to like what Michael Pittman was last year with Matt Ryan, who I also full faded. And you're going to have to ask yourself, if you are someone who had, say, 25% Amari Cooper, right? I'm not saying like if you want an 8% every player in the player pool, that's neither good nor bad process to me. It's a little bit more complicated, but we'll get into that. But Amari Cooper, was he good process to go a heavy load in? Well, what did he have going for him? He's a good wideout. We know that, right? He's produced with shoddy quarterback play. We saw that with Brissett last year. I personally didn't draft him a lot because I was not impressed with Deshaun Watson. And then what happened? Well, Deshaun Watson did kind of suck. Amari Cooper did have a pretty bad year. He scored 5 touchdowns on the year, 1 last week, week 15, and 2 in week 16, putting up 50 points. So was Amari Cooper a good process guy who just had a bad stretch and hit at the wrong time? Or was he closer to an example last year I would give as like a bad process pick that smashed in the playoffs was Cam Akers. Cam Akers is a guy who did nothing all year and then had a monster performance against the Broncos defense after they had quit on the team. And so, like, he smashed in the playoffs. Does that make him a good pick? No, I didn't think Cam Akers was a good pick last year to go all in on. I'm not saying like 5%, 10%, whatever. Personally, I took a really risky strategy this way. Now, I think you're taking risk in any way. If you 8% a player, if you 8% the player pool, meaning you just like spread everything out, you're also taking risk. You're taking risk that you get the Amari Cooper piece with the right combo versus taking hard fades, taking hard stands, an exploitative stance, which I personally think is mine and your best chance at winning a contest like BBM4. So I took a lot of risk by pretty much just being like, I want Mike Williams. I want Christian Watson. I want Deebo Samuel. I want Ramondre. I want ETN. Those were kind of like the 5 players that come to my mind around the cost of Amari Cooper and zeroing him out, right? So that doesn't work the week that Amari Cooper drops 50 at an expensive price tag, right? But anyways, I don't know. There's a little bit nuance there. I don't know if this is the perfect time to go into it all. I'm not saying Amari Cooper was an awful pick, but it is what it is. Like if you look at his game logs, I don't know. Like the Joe Flacco experience hitting, you got that. You got George Pickens, which you have to ask yourself, was George Pickens a guy who profited off the quarterback change? Or was he going to smash if he had good quarterback play all year? I don't really know. I kind of think George Pickens was not the best player to go all in on, although he was kind of similar to Gabe Davis, but just with worse quarterback play, which is what I care about. I only did 10 big board Superflex teams, and it's my one final. So taking a look at this team before we look at some of the other finalist teams in my Discord. Superflex is not a contest I traditionally like a lot, although now, I'm a Steam finalist over here, but it is a 260 person final, so pretty big finals. I only did 10 just because I felt that like it's not an even contest. It really kind of like weights the quarterback picks. But this contest was early in the year. I think it was even before the NFL draft. And so I like my team's chances somewhat. We got Stafford against the Giants. That's solid. We got Purdy against the Commanders. That's a smash. Howell is officially benched, if you didn't hear the news. Jacoby Brissett will be starting there, which someone in my Discord posted a finals team with Brissett as his quarterback. So lit. That'd be so funny if you took down $3 million like that. Baker Mayfield, very solid pick. He gets the Saints this week. And then Hendon Hooker, this was like, hey, obviously I went late quarterback here. And, guys like Baker, Sam, even Brock did not have a lot of job security. So Hendon Hooker was like, maybe Goff gets hurt. Maybe he gets benched, whatever. He was a second round pick. And I think he was actually hurt. So like it was almost, he was likely to sit the whole year no matter what. So it is what it is. This guy could have been Sam Darnold. It could have been whatever. Jahmyr Gibbs, Kenneth Gainwell, Antonio Gibson, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, Kyren Williams. The cool thing about this team is it has very few zeros. Super flex, if you're not familiar with what that means, is it means 2 quarterback points can count each week. So all my running back bullets are live, and Kyren, counterintuitively, I think was maybe drafted a little bit more in the big board and the big board super flex because it was before the NFL draft. So Zach Evans wasn't drafted to the Rams yet. But still, I'm very curious what his ownership will be in the finals because A, in a 260-person final, you need some leverage to win. And B, he gets the Giants, smash spot. He's a league winner. And I mean, it's possible I could have the only team with him. Or he could be like 40% owned. I don't know. But yeah, really solid running back room, all things considered. You got the anchor Gibbs, which was like probably cheap. Went Diggs and Kupp at the 1-2 turn. And that's kind of fun now because we got this Ram stack built out. We got Kupp against the Giants, who almost certainly is going to be very low owned. You got the low owned Diggs as well, who hard to say if Diggs and Kincaid are a little injured. It seems it, but also Diggs is, I think, fine. He did get hurt the last game a little bit, but he, got a touchdown. If Josh doesn't miss him, I think he's fine. Kupp, T. Higgins. T. Higgins is another guy who I didn't draft a lot. I just kind of thought he was like a bad price of a player. He's not a separator, right? So he's like a more expensive Gabe Davis to me. He was a more expensive George Pickens to me. Now, what does he have that those guys that like Gabe doesn't have? Well, his quarterback isn't expected to rush in as many touchdowns as Josh Allen is or Jalen Hurts is, something like that. But still, I thought he was pretty expensive for what he is. I also don't think he was like a great process guy that, why did he smash? Well, you had this like garbage time game. You had Jamar Chase ruled out, so. But we got him now. We're rooting for him. Metcalf and JSN. Keep in mind, I did not know JSN would be a Seahawk at this point. Good point, Michael. This was a 20-round contest, so more Kyren. So we got the Seahawk mini there. And Addison, I think, is hurt, so unlikely to play there. But a strong group of wideouts. And then Kittle and Juwan Johnson as my tight end. So we got Purdy to Kittle. We got Stafford to Kyren and Kupp. We got, some running back darts, some wideout darts, enough quarterback points, hopefully. I think the team's got a decent shot. Purdy's one of the top quarterback plays. It is $100,000 to first place, I believe. So not nearly a sweat for $1 million or $3 million, which hopefully one of you are winning, but it is $100K, which would be awesome. It would be awesome to win my 4th best ball tournament. Good luck to me. See, let's just check in on some of these questions. Who do you think has the highest advance rate to the finals? CMC? Yeah, I mean, the CMC will be chalk. Really hard to say what the ownership will be on these Amari Cooper teams because he's probably low owned in week 16 pods, but it was like, frankly, difficult not to advance an Amari Cooper team. And he correlated with a lot of guys, Yeah, I mean, pod luck's something, man. I mean, the lowest pod I saw advancing that someone said is 138 in a VBM4 finals. So, I mean, I didn't even eclipse that score with my teams. Okay, well, let's get into the Discord here. We'll have all season for takeaways and lessons. Probably one of the first articles I'll write is what I got wrong and what I got right this year. Off the top of my head, what are some things I got right? Fading Travis Kelce, fading Austin Eckler. Your fades and who you draft in first round does matter a lot, right? We saw this with just if you went overweight CMC. That alone was enough to have a really solid year this year. If you just smash the CMC button, right? If you smash the Travis Kelce button, better luck next year, is what it is. Okay. Let's take a look at some of these underdog finals. We're of course going to try to take a look at the BBM4 teams. I know that I asked people to label the contest. Danny didn't do that here, but Danny messaged me on Twitter. So I know that this one is a BBM4 team. Rally. And no offense, guys, but if you share it like this, I'm not going to pull it up. There is a share button. If you're sharing on desktop, it's kind of harder. Rally, a member of the Discords, got 2 BBM4 teams, I believe. So let's try to find Rally's teams. Not telling us the contest. BBM4 finalists. Good luck, Lee. People have been speculating on what the score will be. Like this guy said 200 points. My team that won BBM2 scored like 201.8, but I can almost guarantee the score will be much lower than that. What does it take to score 200 half-point PPR points? You need what Amari Cooper did last week. You need what Jamar Chase did in BBM2, a.k.a. someone to score 50 points. Hard to do. So let's just get up open 10 of these. I didn't do a lot of like the low dollar buy-ins this year, the puppies, etc. So, I didn't have any sweats there. I would love for the BBM4 winner to be someone in my Discord. All right, let's get Rally out here. Rally, he's known to push a conspiracy theory or two. Not my cup of tea, but hey, he had a great year. And I think he said he's having surgery, so good luck to him. All right, I'm going to try to look at 10 here, guys. Oh, yeah, this is the Jacoby Brissett team. All right, let's start it here, guys. So this is 10 BBM4 teams with a shot at $3 million. Let me know in the YouTube comments which team you like best once we're done looking at them. So first we got Mac Nova here, who advanced with a Kenny Pickett, Derek Carr. Oh, man. Who could forget the Derek Carr spike week to propel quite a bit of teams through, honestly. Kenny Pickett, so almost certainly I'm going to guess this guy has George Pickens. Derek Carr, and then Jacoby Brissett, which, for only having Derek Carr against Tampa, which is a good matchup, now he's got Brissett versus the 49ers, which is not a good matchup, but hey, I mean, the guy can QB sneak a touchdown. He's expected to be trailing, so. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to have the only team with Jacoby Brissett. Would I recommend you draft Jacoby Brissett in BBM5 or something akin to him? Absolutely not. No. I don't think it's a good pick to be drafting speculative quarterbacks, but I hope it works out for Mac. Running back room looking pretty strong here. CMC, Josh Jacobs, who I think will play. I mean, I don't know. Like the Raiders should shut him down. What incentive is there to play him? James Cook against the Patriots, a strong play, and he had a disappointing week, so he's going to be a little bit lower owned, maybe. Charbonnet against Pittsburgh, and Gainwell versus the Cardinals, which is a smash spot, but Swift is the 1A there. Chris Olave, Mike Evans, Puka Nacua, Terry McLaurin, George Pickens, Zay Jones, Alec Pierce, Jonathan Mingo, and then Kittle and Juwan Johnson, which, seeing as those two guys are on my finals team, hopefully they smash. So yeah, I mean, pretty strong team here. George Pickens will be chalky. Puka Nacua I doubt will be chalky just because he was not drafted a lot in the contest and he didn't have a good week last week. He's got the New Orleans and Tampa stack, which is not going to be common, I don't think. Um, so yeah, I mean, you got a good shot here, Mac. I mean, you need an unreal Derek Carr game again, or Jacoby Brissett to like QB sneak 3 to 4 touchdowns. The nice thing you got going for you, you got two San Fran pieces, which I mean, a lot of people will have San Fran pieces, but they play Washington easily, one of the worst defenses. Next is less is more with a Hurts Mayfield team. So great construction of a quarterback room. This is very akin to like my team that won the 555 last year was a Mahomes Geno Smith team. This is the same thing. Hurts, your expensive elite guy, and then end it with a starter that not many people are taking. And I personally wasn't sure what Mayfield's season would look like this year, but I think he was a very sharp pick to go pretty decent exposure on. So getting rewarded here with a stack with Mike. Gibbs, Cook, Khalil Herbert, who came out of nowhere, Mitchell, Algier, Kendre Miller, Gus Edwards. Mixed bag here, but good running back room overall. Diggs, who's going to be low owned. And I mean, if one of Diggs or Kincaid is hurt, I think Kincaid's a little bit more hurt. He did have that injury. And I think Buffalo is thinking that like Miami is the important game for them. Week 18, they should be able to beat New England. And then you got the real playoffs, which you might want to be saving players. So Garrett Wilson and Diggs are both going to be very low owned as first round picks. Are they the top projected guys from those rounds? No, but he's got massive leverage right there. Wilson versus the Browns. That's another reason I faded Amari Cooper. I hated their week 17 matchup against the Jets, which also seemed right. But, sometimes they spike week 16 to get them there. So, yeah, no, I don't think Amari Cooper is going to spike against the Jets on Thursday Night Football. Could he? Sure. But, maybe a lesson there. I've gone back and forth versus only focusing on 17, focusing on week 16, 15, focusing on it all. I did more 17 central focus this year, which doesn't matter when you don't get to the finals, of course. Ayuk, moderate ownership on him, and he's definitely one of my favorite players for the finals. He's not on my final team, but his skill set versus the Commanders is just a smash. Like if CMC is not going nuclear this game, it's because Brandon Ayuk is torching these corners for like 3 to 4 touchdowns. Mike Evans, strong play. George Pickens, get Seattle. I mean, look, is he going to do this again? Almost certainly no, but he's fine. Van Jefferson, a near zero there. So a 5 wide receiver room, basically. And then he's got Njoku, Kmet, and Noah Fant. So you got an unstacked Hurts. You got Mayfield to Mike. You got 2 to 3 serviceable tight ends. You got a shot here. Next up, Shubes. 1, 2, 3, 3, 7, 6. Do we think there were 123,000 other Shubes or Shubes? Let us know what's the meaning of the numbers. So Hurts, Richardson, also I think a very sharp quarterback room. I did this plenty myself with either Allen or Hurts, where you get your guy, the elite quarterback, and then you get the guy who basically could be Justin Fields from last year, aka a guy who could put up elite QB numbers through rushing. And Richardson was the clear bet to do that. Richardson gets hurt early in the year. That stinks. CMC, Breece Hall, Gibbs, Achane, Chase Brown, smash running back room. Breece's matchup, not as good this week, but, teams run on Cleveland a little bit more. Gibbs, good every week, and I expect them to be trailing against Dallas potentially. So, plus, we've seen Dallas get beat on the run. Achane, solid play. No Waddle this week, probably. High ankle sprain. Chase Brown, a solid low-owned dart. Terry McLaurin, George Pickens, Jordan Addison, Zay Jones, Alec Pierce, Adam Thielen, Curtis Samuel, Jaden Reed. So this is one of the weaker wideout rooms we've seen. I'm not sure what Zay Jones' status is. Jordan Addison is unlikely to play, I think. Alec Pierce is just not that good. Adam Thielen, you need kind of. Curtis Samuel, you might need. Jaden Reed, you need to play. So you need some help here. You got smash quarterback. You got some smash running backs. You need help at wideout, no question. And then tight end, a Njoku Higbee team, Jelani Woods. Yeah, this team was probably drafted early because he's got the Woods to Richardson stack. And Woods wasn't drafted that much late. Next up, we got Rally's teams. Put on your rally caps. Yeah, man. I mean, so technically the jury's out on this, but I'm pretty confident Garrett Wilson would have smashed with Rodgers. Especially because everyone else is awful at wide receiver. So like de facto Garrett Wilson usage. Dak and Love. Dak is one of the top quarterbacks I would want without a doubt this week. He gets Detroit. Detroit's defense, not that good in the secondary. Just seems like a spot he could blow up. Pollard, Gibbs, Cook, Ty Chandler. Yeah, I mean, I didn't draft a lot of 4 running back rooms this year, and they did well in the playoffs. And, like what happened? Well, he got Ty Chandler to help him. He got that Cook's blow-up game. Gibbs gave him 2 games. And, yeah, Pollard's been disappointing. And a guy I drafted a lot of myself, it's risky to take any running back early, right? We just know this. But now you got a very low on Pollard in this Detroit stack. You got CD, who's going to be quite chalky. You got Godwin. You got Mike Evans. Christian Watson, who you really hope plays, right? Their game is the game to end week 17, the last game, them versus Minnesota. So Rally is hoping for Reed to sit, Watson to play, 3 touchdowns against the Vikings. Gallup, DJ Chark came up with a spike, I guess. Josh Palmer. Marquez Callaway is a low-owned dart. So Rally is taking to heart the low-drafted darts. And he's bounced around from the Saints and the Broncos practice squad. So he may have even been active last game. Almost certainly a 0, though. And then 4 tight end room with Ingram, Laporta, Kincaid, and Musgrave. Depending on when this was drafted, Laporta and Kincaid were either mid-round picks. And my guess is, because usually they list the players by draft order, is he went Laporta, Kincaid on a turn. Because Kincaid was usually drafted ahead of Laporta, but they were drafted very close to each other at the end. So yeah, 3 rookie tight ends with a 4th tight end, pretty solid. I mean, am I building a lot of teams like this? Probably not. I'm probably adding a 5th running back quite a bit of time. But, when it goes right and these 3 running backs hold you down and you get something from your 4th, it can work. He's got some stacks here. He's got Detroit, Dallas. He's got Minnesota stack. So good luck, Rally, on your first bullet there. His next team was a Goff, Love, Pickett team. Another 4 running back room. Taylor, Gibbs, Rashad White, Michael Carter, who's a 0. Actually, I think he might have played last week for Arizona. Lamb, Pickens, Addison, Watson, JSN, Rashid, Shaheed, Dobbs, Josh Reynolds. I think it was Rally. Me and someone else had a back and forth where I thought Reynolds was a bad pick to go all in on. Someone disagreed and said they drafted a lot of him. And yeah, I mean, he's not been a good pick. He's an okay pick to have a little bit of course, but not a go all in on this guy. But hey, what do I know? He's in the finals with Josh Reynolds. And then Njoku, Freiermuth, Laporta, solid enough tight end room. Laporta, of course, is going to be chalk and is in a good matchup. So he's got the Dallas-Detroit game stacked up with both quarterbacks. Some good-looking teams. Jump free. Thank you for dark mode. Smith, Carr, Howell. So he's down to 2 quarterbacks. Geno should be pretty low owned and has a decent matchup against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh can be beat explosively by the run and pass. CMC, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, I would imagine, is quite low owned. Getting the Vikings. Not like the best spot for running backs, but could definitely catch passes, etc. Rachaad White, Alvin Kamara, who could be pretty low owned, and Zamir White. Solid running back room here. Rachaad White, it's like the RB3 in fantasy football, just a smash this year. Olave, Debo, Hopkins, Dotson, Michael Thomas, DJ Chark, Curtis Samuel. Perfectly cromulent wide receiver room, as our friend Davis Maddock would say. A little weak, but, you got some pieces here. Chig, Juwan Johnson, Noah Fant. I mean, hey, BBM2, add 2, BBM4. Noah Fant was on the winning team. We've seen 2 Noah Fant teams. A lot of numerology right there. Chalk, good question, GBD. Chalk means like high owned, right? So if Noah Fant is 5% and Laporta is 35%, Laporta is more chalky. Just means like he's a high owned player. Fields, Goff from Jed here. CMC, Joe Mixon, James Cook, CH. So another 4 running back room with CMC, which I think was decent enough process. I almost always like to attack on a 5th just as like a playoff dart, navigating through these pods. Some seasons you need that, some seasons you don't. Chris Olave, and it also like a 5th running back also helps you if like CMC goes down for 2 to 3 weeks in the regular season and comes back. Olave, Metcalf, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Jacoby Myers, Jameson Williams, Isaiah Hodgins, Hunter Renfrow, Robert Woods. So huge mixed bag here. JMO, a very solid dart, right? Jacoby Myers, good play. Sutton, good play. Mike Evans, Metcalf, Olave, great plays. DK Metcalf against the Steelers legitimately could be a $3 million piece, They can be beat explosively. That's what DK Metcalf does. Seattle's offense as a whole, though, has been disappointing this year. And then like Hodgins, almost certainly dead. Renfrow, almost certainly dead. I don't know how much Robert Woods played last week, but pretty dead. Njoku, Higbee, Komet. Njoku is also going to be pretty chalk. I like nearly full faded these types of tight ends, the Njoku, Higbee, Komets, in favor of the Laportas, the Kincaids, guys like these. That's a really high risk tolerance thing to do because we know tight end is a pretty clunky position where if you score touchdowns, you smash. So maybe a lesson for me, but also, I'm trying to give myself a bunch of finals teams, and it doesn't work some years. Lebs, I don't know why his team isn't really loading, so we'll just kind of skip through it here, but it's a Dak and Purdy team, smash quarterback combo. Gibbs, James Conner, Gibson, Jalen Warren, Mostert, Zamir White, smash running back room. CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, that's going to be a chalky pairing. Debo, Michael Pittman, I don't know if Pittman's playing. Zay Flowers, Gallup, DJ Chark, George Kittle, Sam Laporta, Michael Mayer. Good-looking team, Lebs. Glue Eater has got a Lamar Goff team. Lamar should be pretty low owned, and against Miami, I could see him going nuke. Brees, Montgomery, Jalen Warren, Kendre Miller, Jeff Wilson, Chuba Hubbard, Gus Edwards. So pretty weak running back room, but you got 5 guys who could give you a good week. Technically, even Jeff Wilson could, I guess. Kupp is going to be very low owned against the Giants, and of course he could smash. He should have had like 3 touchdowns last week. Amon-Ra, Debo, JSN, Bateman, Gallup, Braxton Berrios. It's probably the only Braxton Berrios team. Kyle Pitts, Sam Laporta. Good tight end room. The last one from our friend Danny here. Solo Goff, Gibbs, Swift, Algier, Singletary, Foreman, Cordell Patterson, CEH. So the CEH piece is actually kind of key, just like the starting running back for Kansas City, catching passes. Lamb, Amon-Ra, Amari Cooper, Lockett, Jamo, Gallup, John Mechie III, Kittle, and Njoku. Pretty good looking team here. Cooper high own, Lockett pretty low own, Jameson not that high own, goes with the Goff stack. I know Danny's a Dallas fan, so good luck to you. Let's take a look at some of these DK finals teams. Someone asked me about before we look at the DraftKings, I want to look at the drafters because my boy Tolan, who I went to college with, actually grew up in the town over from me. He and I split a main event team, and he also did 2 drafters bullets, only 2. And because I was telling people like, hey, by the way, this is overlaying, which if you don't know what overlay is, it's when the contest doesn't fill. Tolan drafted 2 teams in the drafters contest. One of those teams is in 4th place. So he is at 2590 points. The leader is at 2611. Drafters is a total points format. So he's 20 points out from first. First place is 300K. So I'm really hoping Tolan can get first or second in this tournament. That would be awesome. He just got married as well. Our main event team, unfortunately, looking unlikely to win. But it's a Dak Russ team, which, yeah, he's bummed Russ is benched. That's another big thing. But he's got Dak against Detroit, Ramondre, James Conner, Rachaad White, Mostert, Damon Harris, Deuce Vaughn, A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, DJ Moore, Lockett, Addison, Michael Wilson, Puka Nacua, Hardy and Watkins, Ferguson, Laporta, Greg Dulcich. So good luck to Tolan here. Honestly, like looking at this team, would I say it's a top team in the whole contest over the season? No, but like getting into it, Rachaad White's been key. Mostert's been key. James Conner came back at the right time. Ramondre gave him some weeks. These 2 ping-ponged enough. A.J. Brown and Lamb means he only needs a couple other wide receiver scores, and he's got the bullets for that. And then tight end has mostly been or only been Ferg and Laporta, which is a perfectly good combo there. So good luck, Tolan. Hopefully you can take it down. My top team is at 2348. So dead. But yeah, I mean, you know, I used to be a teacher, so I like to help people. That's why I make content and such. And so love to hear if I either help someone this year, I taught them. It's a difficult formula, right? Because we're playing a zero-sum game. If I don't win, maybe one of you are. But I'm a natural teacher, so hopefully you're getting helped here. And yeah, I mean, a good reason to be part of the community. You hear about overlay, you draft 2 bullets in the drafters millions. He told me he drafted them an hour before the season started because the contest locks, of course. And look at him. Got shot 300K. Let's look at some DraftKings Millie Makers here. Pretty huge final. The payouts may seem a little flatter, which they kind of are, but it's also just such a huge thing, and they're not paying first 3 million. So that's why it seems flatter. Okay, just take a look what's in here. Roughly 7 or so. So this is teams in the DK Millie. I think there's roughly 1,300 teams left. Tua, Gibbs, Swift, Amon-Ra, Waddle, Mike Williams, George Kittle, Lockett, OBJ, Charbonnet, Claypool, Ezekiel Elliott, Gainwell, Trey McBride, Puka Nacua. Very sharp to have those 2. DPJ, Rashid Rice, Jeremy Ruckert, who I drafted a little bit myself. So he went with 3 off the board guys here, kind of. Sharp thing to do. Guys not being drafted a lot. Singletary and Geno Smith. It's a little annoying it doesn't show us the names. Oh, here it is. Okay. This one is from Trill Cosby. Dak, Gibson, Singletary, Amari Amon-Ra, Lamb, Goddard, Gabe Davis, Godwin, Ferguson, Ty Chandler, Allen Robinson, James Cook, Hopkins. In my 5-man 5-5-5 pod, the other 4 teams had Allen Robinson. It's like absurd. James Cook, Hopkins, Gallup, Greg Dulcich, CJ Stroud, Pickett, Tank Bigsby, Dwayne McBride. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a camera screen. You click that. You click copy on your phone. If you have, I'm talking about from iOS, so Apple, maybe you can't do it on Android. Rohan here has Fields, who should be pretty low owned, and gets Atlanta. Brees, Connor, Amon-Ra, Slayton. Slayton was on 2 of my that was kind of the ironic thing of week 16 is like several of hashtag my guys spiked week 16. They just didn't do what George Pickens and Amari Cooper did. So in a more normal week, maybe we would have had some finals teams, but I had Slayton. I think I drafted like 20% of Slayton in BBM 3 or 4. And I've gone back and forth on that process of how good or not it was. Like I thought I was selecting the starting wide receiver in an ambiguous room on a decent enough team. That kind of was true. It's just like the quality of the team was so bad for most of the year. But yeah, he was on 2 of my BBM 4 teams. Didn't matter. Slayton, Lockett, Njoku, Mostert, Jordan Love, Brandon Cooks, Ryan Tannehill, CEH, Ty Chandler, Khalil Shakir, Tony Pollard, going to be low owned, DJ Moore, Sam Laporta, Burks, Musgrave, and Colt McCoy. Kersey's here's got you for Android. Thanks, Kersey. Pios Devil got the Kyler, McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Osborne, Kittle, Lockett, Chuba, Gibson, Hawkinson. Unfortunately, Hawkinson tore his ACL and MCL, it seems. So I don't know, man. I mean, I think Mark Andrews has the injury that Tony Pollard had too. So, like, if I'm not full fading Hawkinson and Andrews next year, decent fade, unless they're like dirt cheap. It's just going to be hard to draft these guys off the injuries. Unless, if we get better news, we'll adjust. CEH, Purdy, Curtis Samuel, Hollywood, Cousins, Hyatt, Mechie, Tank, and Ronald Jones. Norsbury has got the Purdy, Gibbs, Pacheco, Cooper, St. Brown, Davis, Kittle, Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Rashee Rice, Jalen Warren, Singletary, Likely, Ty Chandler, Bateman, Otten, Rodgers, Kendre, Desmond Ridder, and Dwayne McBride. I think it was sharp to do the Ty Dwayne McBride combo. Obviously, this team was drafted pretty early. He's got the Purdy stack. Lamar, Brees, Bijan, Pickens, St. Brown, Flowers, Kittle, Shaheed, Zamir, Godwin, Downs, Likely, Kamara, Ty Chandler, Pierce, Achane, Mingo, Juju, Richardson, and Jaden Reed. And then Stafford, James Conner, Khalil Herbert, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Parker, Schultz, Pierce, Prescott, Ferguson, Diggs, Alec Pierce, Gallup, Van Jefferson, Otten, Addison, Debo, Cam Akers, Trey Lance, and Gus Edwards. All right. That brings us looking at those finals teams to an end. As far as what I'm going to be doing the rest of the year, I mean, I want to just acknowledge anyone out there. Look, if you are feeling disappointed, you don't have a final sweat, or you didn't make the tourney you really wanted to make, that's okay. It's okay to feel that. Just realize it's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's easy to get caught up on social media or Twitter and see, your timeline posting their final sweats and being like, wow, everyone's having a great year except for me. Well, we know that's a byproduct of social media. People usually don't post, hey, I got in a fight with my girlfriend and I was an asshole. They don't show the negative in their life or whatever. I will be, I'm definitely disappointed I don't have a BBM4 sweat. Is what it is. We're not gonna let it kill us here, but motivation for next year. Get back in that BBM5 finals, maybe 5 million for BBM5. Think of that. And if you feel like you had a bad experience in Best Ball Mania 4, I would definitely recommend you think about your contest selection for next year. If you don't like these lotteries, if you don't care about having a shot at the top prizes, there are better contests you can choose, especially for your bankroll potentially. I will be doing, of course, some playoff drafts. The playoffs have really changed since we last looked at it. And I think I just need to make this a different video, which I'll do later. I think on Friday, what I'll do is I'll continue be doing my pick'em show. And on Friday, I'll also be drafting playoff draft teams. I've already drafted some. Some are coming here and there. When we first looked at the gauntlet, I gave the advice to just select Bills players. This was before the Cowboys game. Since then, they beat the Cowboys, they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Chargers barely. They're still not a lock to make the playoffs, but they have jumped up in price almost to the point where I just don't even know how draftable they are in the gauntlet. Trying to show you guys my teams. I drafted 22 teams. I think we'll do one to end here, but just to show you how things have changed over time. Here's a team I did, I don't know, a couple weeks ago before the Bills played the Cowboys. And it looks like I went with a Purdy Allen stack. And then I went with Allen with Kincaid, Gabe Davis, and Shakir and James Cook. I got the Purdy Kittle if we got that Super Bowl. I got the A.J. Brown if we got that Super Bowl. I got Detroit if I got that Super Bowl. So definitely played for maybe too many Super Bowls here, but also it doesn't matter because it's just kind of hard. You cannot get this combo of pieces anymore. We got better looking teams than that, though. This team, if the Bills score a lot of points the first round of the playoffs, and Bills 49ers is your Super Bowl, this team's very live to win the contest, almost certainly might. It's got Allen, CMC, James Cook, Diggs, Kincaid, Davis, Shakir, Debo Kittle, Nico Collins as a one-off, who unfortunately might not make the playoffs anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's only going to have Bills players because 49ers will probably have the bye. But if it's Allen scores 40 or 30, Diggs scores something like that, Cook scores something like that, you get enough from these guys, you can advance still, 2 out of 6 advance, and then you're locked and loaded. So yeah, good luck beating that if you're building Bills 49ers. Now, it requires a lot of nuance strategy to discuss this, so I'll just do a different pod, but just trying to show you guys some of my teams because I would not recommend competing in this contest, which has been open for a while. They're going to drop new contests, and then those contests go right ahead because the ADPs, no one was drafting like I was, in those contests because they didn't exist. Of course, there's some drawbacks of drafting early. You draft some Keaton Mitchell, you draft some double buys, whatever. Let's do one, get out of here, and enjoy our day. I will, of course, not be streaming as hard for a little bit. I got chess tournament coming up in 2 months. So I set a training schedule for myself. Going to be doing chess in the morning and night. Going to be working out once a day. Going to try to get my eating on track. So yeah, just, doing some good life things out there. Take a break from all the onlineness. But of course, the moment the Super Bowl is done, Underdog will release the big board. We'll be in those streets. We'll be streaming for you. And I'm really looking forward to launching the site, getting my YouTube more up in shape too, probably launch YouTube membership or whatever. You know, can't win a tournament every year, although maybe we could. We could win that Superflex one. We need 4 more people if you want to draft in this gauntlet with me. We stream chess matches. You know, I had been doing some chess on this channel, but if I'm going to be streaming chess in the future, I think I'm just going to leave this channel for fantasy football, and I'm going to make a new channel for chess. So keep a lookout for that. I'm not ready to launch it quite yet. I'm mainly going to be just training my chess, which maybe I could stream if you want to hang. But yeah, I'm going to be doing the woodpecker method if you're familiar with it. It's a book I did. I was getting really, really strong at chess, comparatively at least, before COVID. And then COVID hit and chess went away. But like before that, I used to travel on the subway 2 hours a day at least. I would do my chess tactics book. I was like beating experts. I was climbing and raiding. And then I stopped playing chess. There's no tournaments. I moved out of New York City. You know, you're not in the culture. All right. I got an Apple Watch. I'm not sure if Underdog is compatible with it. It would be really cool if I could like go on a walk, leave my phone, and just draft off of it, but I don't think that's a thing yet. So make that a thing, Underdog. Hey, shout out my guy. What's up, Alex? Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Alex, of course, works for chess.com and Chess Kid and was my producer or the producer of Chess Kid, along with Funmaster Mike. If you've never played my robot on chesskid.com, take a look. See if you can beat the Blazing Bishop. Hope you're well, Alex, man. I know. I was not as strong after COVID. Chess is a weird game, though. You know, like you get more knowledge, but you need to be in the streets tactically. Okay. Yeah, I mean, when the contest launched, Tyreek was the 102, and I said he was like the worst priced player on the board. It's getting harder to build San Fran, as you can see here. So we're just not. I think the Eagles can beat San Fran still. If you made me choose 5 teams to make the Super Bowl, the 5 I would choose is Philly, the 49ers, Buffalo, Baltimore, and Kansas City. I think there's a pretty big gap on those 5 and the market. I view Dallas and Miami as similar teams in different conferences. Like Dallas is the Miami of the NFC and vice versa. AKA, they're good teams. They beat bad teams. I'm not in high confidence that they'd go on a run and beat team after team after team. So we got the Hurts AJ Brown start here. Philly this year obviously will not have the bye, most likely. You can see the Bills guys, you know, like something I personally think the Bills are the best team in the AFC, but I'm going to have to ask myself, do I want to keep on building Bill stacks when I already did that at better prices? And honestly, the way I might play it is I will not plan to build a lot of stacks like that, and I'll just do it when the guys drop. The Broncos? Oh, you meant the Browns. See, like this guy went Allen. This guy grabbed Diggs. So he's going to have no running back pretty much. And he grabbed Cook. Cook, I think I would have considered here. You know, you need a running back in the Super Bowl. But now we'll probably just go the path of least resistance. This guy's building 49ers Ravens to some extent. This guy's building Miami Dallas. I'm going to grab Swift. And then this gives you the flexibility to do whatever the hell you want. Because you got the Super Bowl, you know. Arguably, you should think backwards in some contests like these. A lot of people get caught up in the how do I advance in the first round. The finals is very big for this. So you got to think about how can you win. What Bandito is doing here, I definitely want to build some teams like these, but they're the teams who are most likely going to get the first round bye, so it's going to be hard. So with me having an NFC side, actually, we're going to take Smith. We're going to alpha stack Dallas and just take whatever good AFC prices come. I think alpha stacking probably slightly lowers your odds to advance out of the first round, but helps you Super Bowl odds wise. Why do I say that? Because it's unlikely Smith and AJ Brown will both spike, and Swift and Hurts. But, you know, you can get there later. I don't see why the Chargers would play Keenan at all. Don't really see why the Cardinals would either. See, the guys, the thing is, bad teams like Denver, why did Russ get benched? Part of it is because if Russ goes out there and fakes an injury or tears his groin or rolls an ankle or breaks a leg or whatever, you're on the hook for his contract, which is absurd. Right? So you can't risk that. So you got to bench him. And Russ has got to know, like, oh, fuck, like, I'm going to get cut next year. So you got the, you know, like, we used to, like, Albert Hainsworth arguably faked some injuries to get his fully guaranteed contract. NFL is very wary of stuff like that happening. So, like Pacheco or Rice, they were guys I was considering over Smith to build a Chiefs side for Philly. This guy needs running backs, and he has Tua. So between like Waddle and Achane, I would always take Achane. I'm going to take Achane here. We need AFC players anyways. Might as well not help Bandito try to advance a team when it benefits us as well. No offense, Bandito. Like, I would never, ever, like, and I've noticed some people do this to me just because they recognize my name. They're making moves that are suboptimal for them to spite my team. I don't ever do that. Other people do that. That's not very smart, in my opinion. Okay. Sure, why not? All right, we got the full Eagles team here. Now we can just kind of just take a bunch of random one-offs and just play it as like Philly makes the Super Bowl and one of Miami or Buffalo or Kansas City, and Philly beats the shit out of whoever makes it, and you only need a little bit of points from the other side, but mainly the points flow through these five. And that's nice because do I want to be drafting the Quez Watkins of the world? Ideally, no. You're going to see the Browns players be more and more popular. They're just very likely to make the playoffs. I said the Jags were drawing live not to make the playoffs, and now they're not. I think their playoff odds are worse than Buffalo's. So I don't really want many of these players because they're all NFC players. Might as well build for Baltimore as well. It's going to have a bye. Obviously, he was less likely to get by Bandito over here. It's kind of nice only having one Baltimore player because, in theory, it might be hard to advance Baltimore players anyways. And we'll take Kincaid. So some people don't like to do what I'm doing here, which is basically I'm building for Bills, Miami, Bills, Baltimore, or Bills. I mean, Philly, Miami, Philly, Baltimore, or Philly, Buffalo. Some people like to go all their eggs on 2 baskets. So just Miami and Baltimore, or just Miami and Philly. I think it's fine, though. You have to think that the full stack of Philly is a little bit unusual anyways. And then almost certainly ending this with, even though I think like Kansas City is much more likely to make the Super Bowl than Miami, we're almost certainly ending this with either Miami, Baltimore, or Buffalo players. If you do enough of these, you'll definitely see some people who have no effing clue what they're doing. I don't think anyone here qualifies for that. They all seem to be normal enough. Although, whatever Bandito's building here is almost never ever going to advance. Because his starting players, assuming Baltimore and the Niners get the bye, are Tua, Kyron at running back, Gainwell or Justice Hill, or Gainwell at flex, and then he's going to need whoever he takes here to hit his lineup. And I don't know. That just doesn't seem great to me. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to take CEH here. So we are going to build for Kansas City too. Okay, I think the way he did it was okay. Kupp and Godwin. Still very thin. I guess we'll do Bateman. So we're live for Philly versus Miami, Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore. Ideally, for this team, it's probably Philly versus Baltimore. Just have the most pieces from there. Yeah, not the best I built, but it's getting more competitive in these streets once more info is out there. Team's dead to win, left side of the board, just sniped everywhere. Yeah, I mean, it's getting like that, man. All right, guys, that's what I got for today. I'll, of course, be reviewing how my finals team does. Hopefully, we can tack on our 4th best ball contest one. That'd be awesome. Good luck to you, truly. If you are in the BBM4 4 finals especially, and you take down the $3 million grand prize, man, an unbelievable moment for you. If you're listening to this stream, please get in touch with me. I would love to be the first to interview you and hear from you. Good luck to everybody else in any other best ball finals like myself. Please hit the like button and smash that subscribe button. Peace out, guys. Link to join my Discord in the YouTube description below.